Well, you're a little young to remember this, but of course when our friends the Nazis burned down the Reichstag, they blamed it on an unpopular minority in their nation, and then they declared a state of emergency, and then they started um, suspending civil rights left and right, and then, next thing you know, they had a captive corporate state in which they convinced people to pull themselves out of their horrible economic situation by buying, buying, buying.
Civil liberties, loss of civil liberties, really more than anything.
I'm really disturbed by the restrictions on our constitutional freedoms that seem to be taking place daily by the government in terms of listening to people's conversations with their attorneys. And
probably just not being able to travel as freely within the country, and even more so out of the country, and having it become a really big ordeal.
restricting people's right to travel and things like that.
I won't be able to travel.
I'm really kind of afraid that the Northern Alliance is going to do, kind of a mass execution. That's my biggest concern.
Future attacks will come on innocent citizens of this country.
What do you do? Imprison thousands of people? How do you deal with them? And there's so much hatred there that, I'm worried about a mass execution.
I guess I'm just worried that Americans will maybe embrace their patriotism more than embracing sort of a universal brotherhood. Not that I don't think mankind is wired to be a peaceful animal ever, really, and I think that different races and different cultures will always be in conflict.
I think for about probably 6 weeks after September 11th, I was kind of continually worried every day, and particularly the first couple weeks that I was back from New York, every time I drove to work over the Burnside Bridge, and I saw a lot of the tall buildings in downtown Portland, which is essentially kind of a town in comparison to New York. It made me a little scared every day, I think, just seeing those buildings and being reminded.
I'm not so much afraid of death, or I'm afraid of dismemberment mainly. But
I'm most concerned about what I've always been concerned about, the future, basically.
I'm concerned over my glee when another city falls. I'm concerned that I have those positive emotions, but at the same time I do experience them.
I don't like to think of people being killed, and I don't want more people being killed and more reasons for people to kill people. Think about that.
Even though obviously people are being killed, and there's no real way to spin that.
I think the thing that I'm most afraid of is that we collectively as a society are going to put the blanket back over our head after we win, and terrorism is eradicated, and we have Osama captured or whatever, and then we're going to go back to not knowing anything about what's going on with current events.
But for the most part, I've been avoiding talking to people about the politics and all the crap.
We Americans, on the other hand, do things like blow up our own battleships in Havana Harbor, or we stage fake incidents in the Gulf of Tonkin, precipitating a war in Vietnam. We do everything we can to provoke the Japanese, and even know that an attack is coming at Pearl Harbor, but do nothing to stop it, sacrificing some of our own so we can achieve our greater goal, whatever the hell that was.
Protesters and fraud.
It just felt like in a very short span of time, the world had changed and the country had changed, and everything that I always thought about being an American and living kind of in an impenetrable universe changed. And that was upsetting in itself. It was just like being on an elevator and your stomach, elevator dropping and your stomach kind of falls out of space.
I was afraid for a couple of months. I think it caused me to reevaluate mortality yet again, but I've done it so many times now that I'm kind of used to that.
And in this particular case, the only person who stood to profit from an attack on America was George Bush and his administration, which had been highly unpopular and had not even been able to make themselves more popular by sending people money. And now, if you recall, the things that we were worried about before all this, things like should we get into the Social Security lockbox, should we drill in Alaska, a number of things like that, they have given him all that and more. Happy, happy, lucky man who falls eternally upward and will die a hero and become a god.